Our film begins with Sasha and her husband, Ace, in the tent they are making. The shock is that as soon as she opens it, we find her on the top of a mountain from a very high height. When Sasha looks up, we discover that this is not the end of the mountain. He is still at a greater distance than the ones they ran in. Sasha remains happy and asks Ace that they continue the climbing trip, and they say, "Come on, the weather is beautiful and the sun is everywhere." And he actually hears her words, and we see them together. They are climbing the flat rocks in the mountain, and Sasha remains higher than Ace because they cannot stay at the same level together. Suddenly, she cannot pass a certain rock and falls. What is strange is that Ace is not surprised. "Don't worry about it. You will die, my daughter." And from Sasha's response to him, we understand that she tried to get up more than once, and each time she fails. She is crossing this part of the mountain, and the reason she is here is that she does not want to feel like a failure, and she does not want to go any further. She repeats her attempts once, and the second, and the third time, until Ace asks her to stop these attempts, but she remains completely rejected, so Ace thinks to her, "You have a climbing partner. By the way, you are not alone, and the weather is starting to change. We must stop here and set up the tent." Enough attempts, and they actually enter their tent, and the weather is very harsh, and this scares Ace even more, but Sasha still has a different opinion. What does it mean that we will stop climbing camels because of some rain on them? This is talk until Ice gets even, and she asks him if he is hiding something from us. Then Ice will finally explode, and he asks him whether we should continue these climbing adventures for how long. And I don't know if he will get pregnant again or not. And when Sasha tries to calm him down, she reminds him that this will be the same as every time he feels like climbing. Musab warns her, "There is nothing wrong with this. We will continue to risk our lives like this every now and then." They agree that they will go down tomorrow before the weather gets a little cold, and God willing, they choose the time of the strongest storm and decide that they will go down. And we see them going down, step by step, and someone must secure the other and replace him, unless they are at the same level. We notice that Sasha was the one who started and went down, but the one who did not realize that, due to the severity of the storm, Ice falls from the rocks of the mountain, and before she is sure of Ace's descent, she tells him, "I am fine." He went down, but when she found out that there was a problem with the rope's clutch, the leech started to sell the middle and consoled him with the idea that he had waited for a while, but it was over. Ace went down, and she was surprised by him falling in front of her eyes without any security for the end of the rope, to the point that his brain was fumbling in the tracks of the mountain and he lost consciousness completely. Sasha kept calling for him to get over because she also had the rope start slipping away from her and she didn't know how to control it, but of course there was no point. And one time she sees him with her own eyes. He falls completely, and the rope has escaped from him, and we find that the mountain is a very high level. And of course, Ace's life ends. And after 5 months, we see her after she killed the deer and walked in Jinsto. And she is going again to go camping, but the paths are in a forest. She thinks about her talk with Ace, so she decides to return again to the exact place where he fell, as a park. And she is greatly surprised. But when she goes to get the permit, the officer warns her that she is leaving. There she is on her responsibilities and warns her that she first looks at the pictures of the missing people in her past, and it is as good as her presence in the supermarket, and she is collecting happy tools for the camping there until she frees Ace's body. His origin when he came down was very shattered, so the police contented themselves with making it like a monument in the nearest place expected to find us. She meets 2 very intrusive young men who try to contradict her, and the other is the one who notices the conflict and tells him that he is concerned about her, especially when he overhears. This owner of the school who is not busy says to her, "My lady, come with us, and we will help you. We preserve the forest inch by inch." Oh, they were raising the trees by themselves until they grew up. And all of this, between a silent observation, and when he comes, he talks to Sasha from his door and reassures her that she is not alone. He keeps talking to her very short, so his brain grows on her, and he leaves her and walks away, but she still needs him while she is on the way, because she does not know how to set the onion. She opens her car's grill and calls out to ask him about the exact location of the forest she was going to. He asks her 2 questions that show that Hazar's sleep, which she did not know, is the story of every letter he says, and the 2 questions remain. Does she want the easy way or the hard way? She is very surprised and responds to him. She wants the better way. He smiles quickly and begins to describe to her the exact directions. But after that, he advises her in a very short way. He will let her camp on the beach, and she thanks him very much for this camping. This is her game. And in the middle of the road, she stops, taking a break, and notices that her bag has a bunch of pepper in it. And then she sees a car coming with toys hanging on its back. Unfortunately, we discover that it is the same valley that no one had empty of Rabida, carrying a kilogram of tampon. And his companions of Ramadan begin to throw their rubbish at her and harass her with words to the point that she becomes very afraid and gets into her car and locks the door. But he does not leave her and comes to her. He knocks on her and makes her understand that they are trying to be nice to her, nothing more, and he leaves her and walks. And in the mirror, she finds them skinning the skin of the fox, so she decides to sleep. She stays and relaxes, and they actually walk without bothering her. And in the morning, she wakes up and leaves her stroller and goes down and continues her way along the riverbed. And she continues to enjoy the diving very much. And of course, he does not blink an eye when you give her a simple climb like this. And if this proves to you that she jumps in the river, but the matter passes quickly, and we see her, and he continues on his way. And she finds the place where they came, and she prefers to look at his picture. She is very upset because they have not collected his body yet, and she herself was taken out of there because he did not like this place. Then she hears his son's advice and decides to camp on the beach. And suddenly, while she is sleeping inside her tent, she hears the sound of victory. So she shakes and wakes up from her sleep and remains afraid to leave her tent. But when she comes out, she discovers the disaster. The bag that contained her belongings is not there. So she is terrified when you come back to the tent, you find something moving inside it. And as soon as you focus, you push away a tired one. Then you continue your way again into the river, and you notice that there is someone camping in the same place. Along the way, you go down to the beach and enter the forest. You may find someone helping it. Her tools have been lost, and in fact, she finds a hut and a log on a fire. It is clear that someone is preparing a meal, and one time a girl appears in front of her, and at noon, he accompanies her on this path so that she can find him in it. But he approaches the girl with his calm smile and greets her. And when she realizes that she heard a sound similar to the sound of victory, but he almost stole her bag, he explains to her that this is a certain animal here, and she met him of the same type, and she communicates with him through the sound he makes. This is something like a pterazon. And he jokes with him a little to mean she can break it off and reassures her that she is safe with me. At that time, Sasha becomes convinced that her bag was not hanging on the tree because the animal is impossible to reach, so he reassures her. Akhtar's daughter, and he tells her that he has very happy news that he always has the tools she needs. So they divide it together, and he takes her to his cottage and starts preparing her a meal of bacon, and she keeps telling him that she ate it at night and it tasted good. She finds him calling her by the name of a woman. So she is surprised and asks him if the meat is really called that, and is shocked by his response that he explains to her. No, it is my mother's name out of love. Why was the meat named after her? At that time, Sasha takes and feels a heartbeat, meaning bacon is named after a mother. And she begins to feel that something is wrong with her that she does not understand. And if we put together a few details from the time when he told her to choose which path exactly, and he described to her the path that he would be on, it is clear that it was not completely different. And this is what we know now. When we find him beating her, she drinks water that remains extracted from a tree, because I am Sasha. Zakiya suspects that it is not just an ordinary camp. No, he is staying here in the forest, and she is now staying with him. But he reassures her with his convincing method that he forgot his contraband. So Sasha laughs and flatters him, and he keeps talking to her about her love for adventures and her similarity to her. And no one understands their feelings at all while he brings her food. And when she does not listen to her, she is integrated, and she finds him patting her in the middle of talking, trying to cut her off, whether that means since then. She hates climbing and can't stand to see a mountain, and when her face turns, he understands that I was making an excuse with a hatchet in the air, nothing more than she throws it or anything. And we are sure here that Bonnie is not at all like he tries to show. And because Sasha explains to him that it is not easy, she tells him about the young men who try to get close to her, and they used to look at her in the supermarket. And she warns him about the idea that one of them took my bag, and they are trying to intimidate me. But who is it that my son is trying to control at that time? It is clear that she thinks that there is someone stronger than him, and starts inserting him in the middle of talking. hints of the exact situations that happened to him, and he says to her, "No, no, no. You were really very strong, and you were not afraid to the point that you closed the Arabic and you were clenching your hands." At this moment, Sasha gets nervous, and he means how does he know these details? And suddenly his appearance begins to change, and this good face is trying to smile, all evil, and his gaze remains very intense. So Sasha is terrified and decides to move from her place immediately, but he stops her and tells her, "Just wait, wait. Where is there anything for you at this time?" She sees that he has the bracelet in his hand and the one he brought to her, so she knows that he is the one who took her bag, and when he finds her eyes on his hand, he tells her, "Oh, the news is true. This is really yours." It's not the best thing, but the work means that her eyes are filled with tears from so much fear, and she asks him for the most important thing right now, Ben Tamam, but she finds him running into the shed and sanding it. Her bag is outside, and he goes out after it. What he said is that someone can shoot an arrow at her from a very long distance with his hand. He plays a song on his mobile phone and bargains with her. "Come on, take your bag, and I will give you a chance to escape before this song ends. Let us feel adventurous. Didn't I tell you which path you like exactly? You are the one you chose, and from here we really understand his question." Sasha wishes she had not kissed him, and he assures her that add other tools for her in the bags so she can know how old he is. He is generous and starts dancing to the song and screaming. And among the surprises, it is the sound of the animal he told her about, and it resembles a terrazzo. So she runs away from him as quickly as possible after she takes her bag and gets into the kayak. She throws into the river and he is still dancing with all his might. And as soon as the song ends, he really moves like a terrazzo and is having a lot of fun, meaning Sasha stays on her nerves and throws as hard as she can to escape from him despite all the rocks around her that block her way. But Sasha cannot hold on for long, and luck is not on her side, until she falls into the river and no longer knows how to do anything until she reaches the beach and hears a voice. A family is talking, so she starts tracking the voice, but after she connects to him, she finds a video playing on his phone, and the family was in the same place. Unfortunately, it shows in the video that they are greeting a son, so she knows that he is definitely their teacher, but how can only one person be able to take care of an entire family? He definitely has an assistant and a surprise, and she finds an arrow to hit her with. And this is because he actually preserved the forest and knows everything hidden, and this phone movement was just a trap, and he prefers to be tracked from afar. He aims at different parts of her body, and she actually gets hit to the point where she strays from him and descends into the river. The waterfalls remain very new, and the illusion of the galaxy is so strong that she cannot control herself. It means a very clever swimmer, and finally she is able to save herself. The important thing is that she begins to ignore her bag, checking the pepper spray, and runs again until she reaches a mountain cave and tries to climb it. And the more she goes out, the further the distance becomes, and she is forced. It disperses its entire body so that it can reach an end that can take it to another part of the forest far away from it. It actually reaches the top of the mountain, but it stops. I don't know where. All the places look like some mountains, rocks, and trees. So, the magnifying glass looks out, and from afar, it finds a kayak. It keeps wanting to reach it quickly before it catches up with it again. But suddenly it hears the sound of its cry, and the birds themselves are afraid of it and move away. When the lens gets closer, it finds it on its way. So she quickly hides behind the tree and tries to look at him again, and she finds his eye on hers and he laughs at her. And she desperately wants to save herself in general, whether from it or from the forest, but she chooses to bury herself in the mountain cave again. And then he reaches between him and looks at him to make sure. Where is he? And he sighs in his sick way to know whether she will shake and fall or not. She is really shaking, but she is holding on as much as possible. She is reassured that he is gone. So she comes out again, and he keeps thinking that he is finished. He is finished with her, and he is finished with her. He does not know that she is already preparing to take his kayak, and she sees him from afar while he is in the river next to the kayak. So she goes down into the river and tries to manage herself like a human frog until she reaches the kayak to untie the rope. But from afar he shoots an arrow at her, and she takes aim and tries as much as she can to get away from him. But unfortunately her leg, she enters the trap, and he is able to pull her out of it. At that time, she sprays peppercorns on her mouth, but these two signs are like insects infesting insecticide. Your doctor puts the trap in the water and lifts it up again with all his might. Then he comes back again, threatening her and bargaining with her. She lets go of the peppercorns from her hand in exchange for him removing the trap that is on her feet, and she actually does that. He fulfills his promise and coldly approaches her and tries to eat her from the fruit that is on her. He brought it from the trees and kept leaving it hanging like this all night, while it was raining on it, while he was in his hut, and his eyes were red from the amount of peppercorns I sprayed him with. But he doesn't care about anything like victory, really, and even it's not that hard for him to know that the teeth determine the identity of this person. There are tribes who file them so that they remain new, sharp, and pointy, and every word he says makes him look really crazy at her. He's definitely sick after all that he's been doing. It's true, and while he's continuing, he explained it to her. He looks around her and asks herself one question and one question, but it would be nice if she could escape from him. He explains to her that these tribes do this and bear some of the pain because this is the secret of marriage, and this is one of their rites of passage. He turns away from her in a very malicious way and very calmly, with his eyes almost completely bleeding. Then in the morning, he finds them in the middle of the river and he jumps and explains to her that he knows her name from the register of the guard from whom she was taking the permit. So she asks him not to talk to her about this matter because he thinks about her shearing, so he is doing himself to human beings. And you have my heart, Nusa. And while he is crying a lot, she is still thinking about how to escape, and she finds the beginning of the rope with which she is tied in front of her. So she sees two sheep and can wonder how she is still holding the first one. Unfortunately, he is very smart and notices what she is doing, so he immediately turns her into the river and pulls her like a sheep by the rope. He keeps dragging in it and walking on the other side. He slides with him and does not care whether she flops on the rocks in the river or not, and he helps her. She is still trying to save herself and not give up. Why will she do it? There is no help in his hand. He takes her behind her to a cave between the mountains and descends to it. There she finds mummified corpses and she knows that this is her fate. He holds her by the hands while she begs him and leaves her, and she tries to reach him. He has a reason why he thinks she is sadistic. At that time, he gets angry and gets close to her and asks her, "Do you really see something strange about her? And thank God that she is what you want. And we have no choice. We have to say our opinion because she says, I am afraid that people have humiliated you and done bad things to you. And I really feel sorry for you for what happened to you, and on their behalf. And you will still continue to find him removing his dentures in a calm manner and showing his real teeth to sculpt them, as he used to tell her about tribes and ask her to touch his teeth. And she remains very nervous, but he holds her hands and passes them over. Sanana is the first time she feels the intensity of her intensity. She becomes terrified and asks him to stop what he is doing and begs him to stay away from her. Suddenly, he is so far away that he disappears, and she does not know how in the blink of an eye he is no longer standing in front of her. She keeps calling for him, and he looks everywhere while he is screaming and crawling. Then one time he appears again with the same scream and runs at her, pulling her quickly, and in seconds we find her hanging from her hands, and he tries to control her, by him intimidating her more. But she still intends not to leave herself like this easily and sacrifice her life, and tries to influence her and asks him about this picture that he has. And when he does not answer, she continues, I am sure you are grateful because she looks like you very much, but it is clear that she is very longing for her. So he comes up to her and asks her to know what the last thing she said to me is that Gino loves Ben and I love Gino. And he explains to her that she has never separated again, and when Sasha does not understand what he means until now. Now with her, she is shocked when he kisses her in a way, and this is when he approaches her and assures her that he also keeps it with her like a mother, meaning he will embalm her. The original greeting is not for anyone to the people who resisted him, but just like her. But if they surrender, they are just a spy, not the most slutty. She decides to take her rights and cut the nut with her teeth until it collapses, and she goes down the mountain, and this is because the belt is installed in it. When he falls to the ground due to the force of the pin, she is able to go down and he tries to catch her, but she drags him behind her and he does not know why to pull him, and they both fall into the riverbed, and the waterfalls take them between the rocks, and they do not know how to hold on at all until they reach a point where they are thrown, but quickly they move apart from each other. And between him, he fumbles in his mind and loses consciousness, so Sasha tries to free herself from him. But she does not know for sure, So she brings a large stone and curses him with it because he doesn't move with her, and she goes out, breaking the rope's hooks. But he beats her with 7 pieces of the Spirit of God. And from here, she begins to resist, and he resists her. And no matter how much she tries to get rid of him, it's no use until he grabs her by the neck and pressures her to end her life. But at the last moment, he comes back to his words and says that time is tender, and so she keeps giving up an opportunity at the right time and gets the stone and continues to hit his leg until she breaks his halo, and he falls on his leg and screams because his leg was broken and there was a very large wound on it. And the two of them remained not moving and sleeping in the same place. But of course they supported each other, as if it was a warrior's rest for Sasha. But between a debaucherous rest and because of the abundance of generosity and traumas that surrounded Sasha, she became senile and kept saying sentences that had nothing to do with each other. But they were all blind to Isa Joza, and she remained unable to care about things. And she ended because she did not ignore his words and preferred a very normal compliment, as we saw. Her arrogance is also the one at the beginning of the summary, until the river has not yet come out and they are in the same place. And she looks at the mountain, her destination, which is between him and the outside road, not a great distance, but at his summit. And if they return to the road that saw them, they will go for 12 days of walking, and they do not have any tools that will make them able to continue. And when she says that they are impossible with their lives, he asks her, "And who is the reason for what we are in?" He says, "I am not dead." From Sukkot, but Sasha doesn't care if they provoke her at all, and she offers to either free me, and we can tie climbing ropes together so I can help you and get to the top of the mountain, or the wound in your leg will rot, and you will have to amputate it at all if you continue to live at all, and your life is not over because of the infection. And of course, he holds on to life and the world, and when she approaches her to help him, he shoots her in the face, the furthest point, but she knows that she is not tied, a corral like him, and she replaces it with a period of 2 seconds for him to free her hand from the clamps. Oh, God will make up for his life quickly. Of course, he agrees and threatens her. If she tries to leave him above or fall on him, he will cut the rope and break her neck. Finally, he will free the clamps from her hands, and the two of them tie the rope together. In other words, the climbing rope remains tied in between, and a screen is tied to it with a branch rope so that he remains in control, and the screen goes up the mountain, and every time the rope dangles. Because she throws him in the rocks, he gets worried and keeps pushing at her. But one time he feels that she is trying to get rid of him, and she is really doing that, to be honest. But he knocks her down like this, half as much. What is the matter with the main rope? He makes her think that she will get upset. So she becomes angry with him and steps on the wound with her foot, assuring him that she has put down the cable, nothing more. Finally, he gets him to a little bit of safety, and he does not blame his tongue because it is impossible. He thinks that this is okay. He asks her how he looked like he was falling. He was acting like he was flying. So she doesn't answer him and looks at him with such a look of contempt, while she secures him with her and ties a rope for him. He's already stopped from climbing, so she doesn't understand what she's doing. Yes, she is supposed to have reached a little bit of a safe point, so she pulls him with her, but she is still disgusted with him and has to get rid of him completely with her hands so that he can go to the shear by himself. So he knows what he is doing at that time, and he tries it again, and he finds her late, so he calls for her. But then she is like preparing a trap for him and tying the rope to a branch of a tree that protrudes between the rocks, so that if he thinks about pulling it, she will cut the rope connected between them, not the climbing rope, and at some point, she breaks free and falls quickly. And the first time she tries to untie herself, he keeps pulling on her, and even though she keeps holding on, he pulls on the rope more than once. And finally the rope he tied her with is untying it himself, and she keeps waiting to see what she is doing. So she cuts his rope, and he falls and his brains explode, and she finally kills him and gets rid of this nightmare that she was in. As for her, she continues, unfortunately, to continue climbing without anything. Insurance, and at the most dangerous stage, is almost as difficult as the part that caused him and his part. His life ended, and despite the wounds in every part of her body, but she remains determined to continue, exactly as she did at the beginning of the movie, when she was her leg. Every little bit of slipping away is happening to her now, but the difference is that there is no insurance at all for her, and she tells herself, no, not after all this, and they will fall like this after him. and she remains determined to pass on the information of the embalmers that she found to the police, and their families are relieved, and she finally reaches a summit. The mountain, after a great deal of suffering, takes the rest of a hardened warrior, or we can call it the rest of a victor, and she sits down, broken down, and can't believe that she went through all of this alone without a trace. And she feels that all the suffering she went through was because of her stubbornness, and in order to comfort his soul and gather himself together, she had to go through the same feeling that he felt at a time in his life when she ended up drowning, blocking her eyes, and started walking in the forest without knowing it. Whereas comfort or any landmarks in front of her until the blackness of the night covers the entire place, and she drinks from the water of the river so that she can continue, and finally the collar of Naga appears to her, and it seems that she lied in the test, and they are a family in their car, and they take her with them to safety, which is the address that she said, which is the security center that guarded her and thought she was kidnapped in. There is the first thing she said to him, and he delivers many helicopters to the place, and there are decomposed body parts among them. Mummified and still unable to decompose. I can't do anything about it, and the family has finally learned the way of their beloved. After she regains her strength again, Sasha stands on the beach and is happy that instead of freeing Giza's soul, she is free to go very strong and warm the heart of the family and many loved ones. Because of this, she is sure that she really had to go through all of this. And in the end, she hears the sound of the same scream, and her brain grows bigger because this time is certain.